this room. But we do have Ed Henry and Rachel Campos-Tuffy this morning.
Thank you guys for having me on the couch
Welcome.
today.
It's
My
so
first
awesome.
time hosting with you guys.
Not your first time on TV, though.
No, not my first time on TV.
I mean,
but-
you probably spent more time on TV than any of us over the course of your career, which we're going to get to the career of Rachel Campos-Tuffy later in the hour.
Thank you.
But how you feeling?
I think the hardest part is getting to sleep early because I'm a night owl.
And
but
getting up early.
Yes.
You
But
guys coordinated the purple, though.
we
did.
did.
Yep.
Thanks for not
We
talking
Even the
about
socks. Even the socks.
He's
And we're
got
like,
purple side.
let's
Thanks for letting me
leave-
know.
Let's leave Ed Henry out.
Yeah, I know where I stand.
Absolutely.
We've got so much news breaking this morning.
Sure.
And Hillary Clinton, she doesn't seem to want to go away.
She does not want to go away, and she was on WABC with Rita Cosby yesterday.
Big radio station.
Big radio station here in New York. And we're talking right now about Al Franken. Should he be held accountable or not? Well, Al Franken's a friend of Hillary Clinton, and she had some comments on that radio program. Take a listen.
Al Franken, is a friend of mine. I think we've got to, recognize that he agreed to an ethics investigation. It will go to the ethics committee. It will investigate whatever the situation was. I think that's the appropriate process because, I think that something like that coming into the public arena and Al's very quick acceptance of responsibility and apology and his willingness to be investigated and to take the consequences is the kind of accountability I'm talking about. I don't hear that from Roy Moore or Donald Trump.
So, Rachel,
Wow.
is an apology in her mind, is it sufficient?
Well, first of all, if you are Al Franken, this is the last person you want to come to your defense right now, right? I mean, she's been an enabler. She's known as that. I just think if you're Al Franken, this is not the person you want.
Yeah.
What I find remarkable, too, is that she shifts it to Roy Moore and Donald Trump. It has to be, no matter what topic you raise, someone else is in trouble, a Democrat's in trouble. But what about Donald Trump?
Yeah.
And because as we played in the open before that, she's also now, to Mother Jones, a very liberal publication, questioning Donald Trump's legitimacy as president.
Yes.
Right? A year after she said, we're going to get into that more later, a year after she said, of course you have to accept the results. And she was chiding Donald Trump as a candidate, saying when things don't go his way, he doesn't want to accept the results. If he loses, he's not going to accept. She lost well over a year ago.
Yes.
And it looks like she's still.
Yeah, we're going to bring that to you, some sound that's going to blow your mind. But you look at accountability. How many Republican senators have called for Roy Moore to step down? I think the number is over 40.
And not just that, the Republican Party has pulled out his money.
RNC does not
And you
pay.
did a good job last night on the 5 when you talked about what the Senate Ethics Committee
have to
does.
say,
It's kind of a sham, right?
It's a total sham. So actually, the House Ethics Committee, to their credit, actually sometimes censures people and hold them accountable. In the U.S. Senate, get this. So you've got all these prominent U.S. senators, including Al Franken, saying, investigate me. Bring me to the Senate Ethics Committee. Bring me to the committee that does nothing. From 2007 to 2016, there have been 613 allegations before the Senate Ethics Committee, 75 preliminary investigations. All of this is anonymous, by the way. Zero consequences. Not a single senator censured at all for any of these over a decade. So of course he wants to go to the Ethics Committee. It's the safest space he could possibly go to.
Right, and so Hillary Clinton's saying he'll be held accountable there, even though you're right, there's questions about whether the Ethics Committee is toothless.
614.
Right.
Maybe that 614th one, they'll nail it.
Other grassroots Democrats are saying, wait a second, Al Franken must step down. And guess who they're pushing to be the next senator from Minnesota? Because as you know, you've got a Democratic governor, Mark Dayton.
Correct.
He could appoint the successor. They're talking about Keith Ellison, the first Muslim in the House, who would be the first Muslim senator. And remember, he was blocked from becoming the DNC chairman just several months ago because Democrats, not Republicans, but Democrats were saying some of his black nationalist views, a paper he wrote in college, sort of praising Louis Farrakhan, that's not what they wanted leading the
Little
Democrats.
too friendly to the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, it's next door neighbor to Wisconsin.
Well, you know him well. I mean, he's very liberal. He's very progressive. So in some ways, they didn't want to lead the DNC because that's sort of the more controversial wing of the party. But I would say after what's happened this week with the Clintons, which I think we're seeing the nail on the coffin with them, maybe this could be a way to sort of start to move it into the other direction, which, I mean, whether the Democrats like it or not, Bernie Sanders is the new leader of the Democrat Party.
He's the soul of
and
it.
Keith Ellison would be somebody in that wing. Remember,
Be a
he endorsed
keeper.
him very early on in that primary.
Just a little too cozy to the Muslim Brotherhood for my liking.
Well, and when you talk about Democrats fighting and going back to Sanders Clinton, and it seems like that civil war is still not over.
No.
You've got Democrats fighting about something else now. Kirsten Gillibrand,
Yes.
who has Hillary Clinton's seat in the U.S. Senate, represents New York, has been very cozy with the Clintons for a long time. Basically told the New York Times that given this new environment over sexual harassment, she now believes that Bill Clinton, way back during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, should have resigned. Listen.
Is it your view that President Clinton should have stepped down at that time, given the allegations?
Yes, I think that is the appropriate response. But I think things have changed today, and I think under those circumstances, there should be a very different reaction.
Things have changed today. I mean, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years too late at some level. I mean, it's convenient. At some level, you got to appreciate a Democrat actually saying this.
Correct.
But
a long time later.
A long time later, and we're trying to bury the Clinton hatchet here and move on, and this is part of doing it.
Right. But let's face it. I mean, this is the least courageous political move you can make in this particular moment. And you know what? She's got a lot of Clinton supporters, and they still have their supporters really riled up and saying, hey, you're a hypocrite. You took this money, you took our help, and now that we're not politically convenient for you, you're going to step on Bill Clinton and Hillary.
And Ed, you had an interview
the
about
person
this
who
last night.
called Gillibrand out as a hypocrite is Philippe Reines, longtime advisor to Hillary Clinton, going back to when she was in the Senate. She was at the State Department. And he actually came on. We had some fun. I was sitting in for Martha McCallum last night on the story. And Philippe came on, and we went for about 11 minutes back and forth on this. And here's what he had to say about Gillibrand.
Her point was strange to me because she probably didn't come to this feeling and thought and position yesterday. Why she wouldn't have in the last 20 years vocalized it is strange to me. Nothing was stopping her. But what really was curious to me is why she didn't what she didn't say, not what she did say. She didn't go on and say, I wish I had said something earlier. I regret not saying something earlier.
Yeah.
That's a fair. I mean, it's a fair point to make. I mean, he's calling her out for being a hypocrite.
But you know what's also interesting is that when you pile this, Gillibrand, who, to Philippe Reines' point, what he's mad about is that she took the Clintons' endorsements, she took their campaign money and all of that. Now all of a sudden she wants to run for president maybe in 2020 and wants to run from the Clintons. Here's the broader point. It used to be you had to go kiss the ring of the Clintons if you wanted to run for president as a Democrat and see whether she was running or not. If you pile on Gillibrand saying, you know what, he should have resigned, not being afraid of them anymore, on top of Donna Brazile in her book, taking on Hillary Clinton, you rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders, it shows the Clinton dynasty going down.
I actually think I think there's a bigger thing. In the Old Testament, they used to have this idea of a sacrificial lamb, and you put all your sins, and then you get absolution. I actually think that the Clintons are now that sacrificial lamb, that all the sins of the Democrat Party for the last however many years, they're putting on the Clintons, who, definitely have their hands in this, and they're hoping that they can get that absolution, that turn that page and get a new start, because they don't like being in that hot seat.
The rest of the party wants to turn the page so hard, and they're like, no, keep the book open. The Clinton era is not over.
It's unbelievable that Hillary's still out there. This is a really interesting time. I mean, if I was Hillary, I would not want to be on TV right now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch as the 2018 midterms come too. Who is used most as a surrogate that the Clintons ever used? I mean, it'll be very interesting.
How much will Barack Obama be out there? Is he going to eclipse the Clintons? Interesting, the Republicans have their own issues going into the midterms and whether or not President Trump is going to get this victory on tax cuts. The House actually made some progress this week. Big victory for the president, moving the tax cuts forward. But there's the uphill battle in the Senate, and you've got some Republicans there. Republicans, not Democrats like Chuck Schumer, who, just like on health care, are giving the president fits on tax cuts.
That's right. I mean, as you said, Ed, the House has done their job at every step. And Obamacare, repeal and replace, it didn't happen in the Senate. And so now there's questions about which senators could actually end up holding up tax reform. Some usual suspects that you see there. The president calls them Little Bob Corker.
I knew you'd put that in.
Well, there's a personal feud there, just like with Jeff Flake, who's been a never-Trumper.
Yeah.
On the far right, John McCain there. Not on the far right politically, but on that graphic,
Picture.
John McCain has a personal. So you've got some with personal issues with the president, and then you've got Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, who long ago should
You
just
also
cease
have Ron
being
Johnson
Republicans.
from Wisconsin.
Talk to me about this one. 'Cause
This
I
is an
don't
interesting one.
understand it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, he's a businessman, a small businessman. So
Yep.
he wants his pass-through companies to have the same break that the corporations have. So he has a very philosophical, reason for doing this. I get what he's trying to do. I'm worried though, because when you see a crack, the dam could break, and we
Yes.
already know what the Senate did with the health care bill. So I don't understand why he's doing it this way. He's friends with Paul Ryan, very close with him. They could work this out in conference. I wish he wouldn't do it in the press, in the Wall Street
And
Journal.
a pattern is developing because the
That's
House
right.
is getting their job done, as Pete said, and the Senate, led by Republicans,
Yeah.
is not passing the president's agenda.
But make no
we'll see.
mistake, Ron Johnson is going to vote for this bill. I think in the end, it's going to pass because their political hides are on
Their
the line.
scalps are out
Yeah,
there,
there's no
and you
question.
can't go back to your constituents and say we did absolutely nothing. I mean, they did some things here and there, but really it's the president, and we're obstructionists to him. But the problem is a lot of these people aren't going to
Yeah.
go back to the voters ever again. Corker, Flake,
Exactly.
potentially McCain.
Right,
So
nothing
they
to
don't,
lose.
they don't have that consequence. It's going to be very, very interesting. Let us know what you think. Friends at FoxNews.com. Should the Republicans actually get something done? I feel like I might know what some of these emails are going to say.
Yeah, they're going to say that. We're so happy you're here, Rachel.
Thank you
You're
so
doing
much.
awesome.
Thank
We're
you so
excited
much.
you're here.
So fun.
Well, coming up, between new sexual misconduct allegations, political infighting, and worries over the party's future, has this been maybe the worst week ever for Democrats? We'll take a look.
Plus, country star Neil McCoy has a new song, and it goes out to all those athletes protesting the national anthem.
Well, between new sexual misconduct allegations, political infighting, and worries about the future of their party, the left is beginning to, panic a little bit.
Yeah, so has this been the worst week ever for the Democrat Party? Let's ask the managing editor for Olympic Media.
Katie Freites, welcome. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Great. I want to start with Al Franken. I mean, it's interesting because we want to take a look at how all of these issues this week may shake up the 2020 race. You had Democrats sort of in delight about beating up on Roy Moore and which Republican's going to call on him to step aside. And here's Al Franken, who is being talked about as, hey, maybe because he was standing up to Jeff Sessions, he was a kind of a rising star among Democrats, maybe he'll run for president in 2020. And all of a sudden, he's in trouble.
Yeah, right. Just kidding. He's actually a huge creep. Of course, Republicans do have a lot to be worried about with Roy Moore, but now Democrats might lose a Senate seat in Al Franken. There's been a huge push to have him resign. I personally also believe that he should probably step down from his position in the Senate. But this is a disaster of a weekend for Democrats. I would say all over, though, it's pretty much been a disaster of a week for all parties involved. This really doesn't look good for Congress. We found out there's $15 million in settlements in Congress for sexual harassment allegations over the years. Honestly, I don't really think anyone's coming out on top here.
Yeah.
Well, we see now that Senator Gillibrand has kind of piled on to the Clintons and this terrible
Right.
week for the Democrats. Is this the nail in the coffin for them? Or are the Democrats finally just turning the page on them and they have to exit off the stage and make room for other rising stars, really?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that it is time. Hopefully the Democrats shut the page on Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. I don't think Hillary Clinton's perhaps going to want to let go of that. She might fight for it. But look, I mean, everything coming out now, people revisiting this. You've got the Huffington Post article about Bill Clinton. It does not look good. I mean, Hillary Clinton, I doubt, is going to say much of anything about these new sentiments resurfacing about her husband. But yes, I think absolutely the dynasty, the era of the Clintons is over.
Well, I was just going to say, with Gillibrand coming out first, does that put her at the front of the line for 2020? Does this make her the new rising star, or is there a little resentment about, kind of how she piled on at the crazy time that she did?
I mean, she's certainly a doll of the party. Everyone really likes her a lot. The base really likes her. But I would say that supporting the Clintons, taking Hillary's seat, campaigning with them, being a supporter of them and supported by them doesn't mean you've sold your soul to them. And I would like to hope perhaps that the senator had a change of heart, that she saw these things coming out in Hollywood and in Congress, and she looked at what Juanita Broaddrick has said about Bill Clinton and said, you know what? That's not okay, and I'm going to speak out about it because women's dignity comes before political party politics.
Well, Katie, in terms of another big female Democrat who's sort of a rock star on the left, Elizabeth Warren, she had an interesting moment on Morning Joe. Watch this.
Who's the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
The grassroots. I mean, you can either get in front of it and call it a parade, or you can stand to the side and be left behind.
Would you argue that it is an issue that the Democratic Party needs inspirational leaders? And, I mean, why wouldn't you say that you're one of them?
Look, there are a lot of us out here fighting.
Katie, why can't they? I mean, they love beating up on the leader of the Republican Party and saying it's all Donald Trump's fault. But then when you say, well, who's accountable in the Democratic Party? Who's leading? Who's the future of the party? They can't seem to name anybody.
No, they can't. Senator Warren tried to duck and dodge and weave, and she smacked right into a wall. She actually said a line that President Obama was president only a couple weeks ago. That's not true. It's been a really long time now since Obama's been president. It was clear that she didn't have an answer for this, and she wasn't even willing to admit that she is a leader of the Democratic Party. It's because the base doesn't trust the leadership anymore, proven by Senator Bernie Sanders and the DNC scandal. Of course, you have people in the House that don't want Nancy Pelosi there anymore. It's not good.
That's right, Katie. They're looking for a leader, and we're getting closer and closer to 2020. Katie Freites, have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Coming up, more trouble for the VA. Just when you thought the waitlist scandal was over, brand new problems this morning. You're going to want to hear about it. Congress is demanding answers. Time for some headlines, starting with this Fox News alert. An all-out search underway at this hour for a cop killer near Pittsburgh. Police say 25-year-old New Kensington officer Brian Shaw was shot and tragically killed when a traffic stop turned into a chase. The suspect's Jeep later found abandoned. Officer Shaw had been on the force for less than a year. There's a $5,000 reward right now. You can bet that's going to go higher for information leading to an arrest in this case. And another manhunt intensifying at this hour for a trio of dangerous fugitives. These men breaking out of a Florida jail just outside Tallahassee Friday by climbing through the roof of the library. Two of them already facing life sentences. Police now adding manpower and warning the public to be on the lookout around Tallahassee for the three suspects who are considered violent felons. And President Trump delaying this week's decision to lift a ban on importing the body parts of African elephants shot for sport. The president tweeting, "Put big game trophy decision on hold until such time as I review all conservation facts. Under study for years. Will update soon with Interior Secretary Zinke. Thank you," says the president. Pete?
Thanks, Ed. Well, Hillary Clinton still asking what happened and questioning the 2016 election results.
I think that there are lots of questions about its legitimacy, and we don't have a method for contesting that in our system. That's why I've long advocated for an independent commission to get to the bottom of what happened.
So a year later, we're still questioning the legitimacy, but that's not what she said weeks out from the election day when she was horrified about President Trump doubting the future results.
That's horrifying. You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. That is not the way our democracy works.
Is horrifying. So why the backtracking and excuses, and does it hurt our democracy? Here to debate, Fox News contributor Richard Fowler and Republican strategist Chris Prudhomme. Thank you both for joining us this morning. So Richard, I will start with you. She said it was a threat to our democracy to question the legitimacy of the election. She called Donald Trump that night to concede. Yet a year later, she's still saying, I don't know if it's legitimate. Is that helpful for our democracy?
Well, number one, Hillary Clinton is a private citizen of the United States now.
Sure.
She lost the election. She conceded to Donald Trump. She was at his inauguration, sort of saying that he is the president. We had a peaceful transition of power. I'm not really sure exactly what she was trying to say in that Mother Jones interview, but what I think, or what I hope she was trying to say, is that we need to protect our democracy at all costs, and we know because the DNI basically was very clear that the Russians engaged in our election. We know that the head of the CIA, Donald Trump's CIA at this rate, has said that the Russians have engaged in our election and they tried to interfere in our election. The person that we're waiting to say has interfered in our election is the president of the United States, who continues to sort of pussyfoot around this, whether they engaged or they didn't engage.
But Richard,
And
we
that
know
is
these
what's
investigations are
problematic.
going on. Richard, just quickly as a
It's
follow-up.
not, there's no investigation to whether or not they engaged. Every intelligence agency agrees that they engaged.
We've got Bob Mueller, we've got special counsels, we're looking at things, all of that.
No, well,
But
that's trying to figure out if the
question
Trump administration
legitimacy
helped them
of the
engage.
election. I mean, we know not a single vote was changed. To question the legitimacy, isn't that, as a Democrat, isn't that unproductive for you and your party at this point?
Well, listen, Hillary Clinton is a private citizen. She can do whatever she wants to do.
I know she's a private citizen, but is it helpful?
but
She's
I think-
still a leader of the party.
I think. Well, let's be very clear here. I think what's more hurtful to our democracy is the fact that the president of the United States will not agree with his intelligence agencies. Well, I take that back. Last week, I guess he sort of agreed with our intelligence agencies, indicating that yes, the Russians engaged in our election. No, they did not change a vote, but we know that they put out fake ads. We know they put out fake news. We know the fact that they tried to hack into
Facebook ads.
voting.
Sure.
We know that they tried to hack into voting
They
machines.
didn't, though. I got to get Chris in here.
But
No.
they tried to, and that is problematic.
Chris, I mean, two issues that were brought up by Clinton is voter suppression tactics in swing states and, of course, Russian influence. What do you make of this, Chris?
Well, first of all, I'll say this. If anyone's any potential threat to democracy, it's Hillary Clinton and her cronies. I mean, it's time to bring America together. And I say this continuously all the time. When you have someone such as her, they say President Trump is causing division. I mean, she's the one that's leading the cause, and everybody's saying, oh, resist. He's not my president. This is not how we get things done in America. When you look at what happened, look at Wisconsin. I mean, it's not about anything else. It's her. She refused to campaign in many states such as Wisconsin, and they blame it on voter suppression. No, people were not enthusiastic to support Secretary Clinton. You have many minority voters who didn't even see her as an enthusiastic candidate for them to support.
So, Chris, you're saying a lot of this you think at this point is sour grapes. It's just I want to relitigate something that I can't let go of.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And also look at the fact of this. I mean, Hillary Clinton is a career politician. She has career support all around her. So to have someone such as now President Trump, who never held political office, who had no prior political base, this is a major blow for her. I mean, it's not like she lost against, a Bush or anyone else. I mean, she lost against, obviously now President Trump. And it's obviously affecting her in a major way. And she's going to do anything and everything she possibly can, which includes getting her colleagues who are obviously currently in the Senate and Congress who are continuously trying to tear him down, such as saying he's not their president and resist. And that's not how
we've got to leave it there. Without Richard pivoting to Russia or President Trump, do Democrats need more or less private citizen Hillary Clinton at this point?
Are you talking to me?
Richard, sorry, yes.
I mean, this has nothing, like I said, this has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton as a private citizen. She is one. I think the people that keep replaying it are Republicans who want to talk about Hillary Clinton.
Interviews.
No, but we don't have to talk about her interviews. She's not the president of the United States. That's like if I go out and give an interview, you don't have to replay it every day. At the end of the day,
I
Donald
watch
Trump
your interviews on a loop, Richard. Come on.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that, son. But I mean, Donald Trump is president of the United States. What we should be all focused on, both Democrats and Republicans, is making sure that we have a strong democracy. And we can't have a strong democracy if these Russian hackers continue to buy fake ads.
Yep. I got to leave it there. Richard Fowler and Chris Prudhomme, thank you both for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. All right, coming up, Glamour Magazine's Woman of the Year Awards honor a diverse group of women. The only problem, not a single conservative made the list because diversity is only skin deep as they see it. And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas at Bass Pro Shops. Rick is live at Santa's Wonderland, probably with Santa. Rick, how you doing? Pushing anybody or anything? That is the...
Cooking with Friends.
That's Cooking with Friends as well.
We lost 2 to camp, so a little smaller family there.
How do you keep track of all of them? GPS trackers?
No, we've gone to Mass and forgotten kids, so that's happened.
Left them at church.
No, left them at home. And then went, wait, he's not in the car.
Oh my goodness! So this is your first time hosting, and this is Fox and Friends, and you're an amazing person, become a friend of mine, and a lot of people here at the network. But we want our viewers to get to know you too.
Thank you.
Because I remember my first time on the show, you're really nervous, and this morning it was funny because when I first saw you, you're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you're going to be great because you're always great on TV.
Thank you.
It's good to when we first introduce you, talk a little bit about your family because we've got to know your family a little bit. They've been here cooking with friends and things like that.
You guys know Sean. He comes on the show. He's a friend of the show.
So in case you've been living in a hole, Sean is a congressman from Wisconsin. Which district in Wisconsin?
Wisconsin 7th District. We're right in the center of Wisconsin.
Yep. and not far from Minnesota, my home state.
Yeah, well,
and you guys met on TV.
But so you were on different
some
seasons
amazing
of Real
footage.
World, but then there was like a party, a reunion or something?
They actually had a really great road trip where they sent us all over the country. They picked one person from each cast, sent us all over the country, and then to New Zealand. So we got to know each other really well on that road trip, and we've been together ever since.
Wow, very cool. 8 kids later, and one of the you both.
So don't say
early-
you can't fall in love on a reality TV show. You can. You can find love on.
Of course,
on
you can.
reality
And then
TV.
you were one of two of the earliest supporters of the president as well.
Yes, we were.
Very
Yes,
much
we
so.
were.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank
Awesome
you.
to have you.
And we're
so
gonna have
you're going to
some-
get to know her even more. We got 3.5 more hours. Join us. We'll pull out more information.
We want you to read the headlines now.
All right, here we go. Turning now to the headlines. Roy Moore's wife now leading the charge against his critics. Kayla Moore defending her husband amid allegations that the Alabama Senate candidate pursued sexual relationships with teenage girls when he was in his 30s.
Even after all the attacks against me, against my family, against the foundation, and now against my husband, he will not step down.
This comes as Alabama Governor Kay Ivey says that she will vote for Moore, even though she says she believes his accusers. 3 Colorado VA hospitals now under fire after a watchdog group reveals mental health patients were kept on a secret wait list. The list of cases at the Denver Golden and the Colorado Springs Hospital believed to be more than 3,700. The Denver VA already under scrutiny, and a congressional committee is now calling for an investigation there after it was revealed that doctors kept putting surgeries off due to a lack of staff, and also that workers were stealing drugs.
Christmas, maybe not in here yet, but in some other places it is. That's because of Santa's Wonderland at Bass Pro Shops. It's officially open.
And if Santa's out and about, of course, we're going to find our very own Rick Reichmuth. What's going on out there, Rick?
Good morning. It is the big day for Bass Pro Shops. I have Eva Shockey here. You are one of the co-hosts of Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventure on the Outdoor Channel. And we're going to talk about Bass Pro Shops and this amazing thing that is Santa's Wonderland right now.
Welcome. This is incredible. Doesn't this get you in the Christmas spirit?
You know what? I resist the Christmas spirit until after Thanksgiving in general, but I'm making the exception because this actually will do it every time.
Thanksgiving?
Hello. How are you? So we woke up a lot of kids this morning to come here, to be here at 5 in the morning here in Harrisburg,
We should, but
Pennsylvania.
they're happy and they're in the Christmas spirit because look at all these fun activities they have. So we're going to go through these, give you an idea. You're going to want to play with all of them. I'm not going to lie. There's Play Dirt. They're all absolutely free activities. You can literally sit here and play all day long in Bass Pro Shops if you want.
So when you come here to shop, you kids, this is all out for the kids to play.
Yes, it is.
But you also can buy it.
You can. But the fun thing is that all these activities, part of Santa's Wonderland, they're here in Harrisburg, but they're also at 80 other locations across USA and Canada. So you can go, if you're in USA or Canada, you can go and do this exact same thing at your local Bass Pro Shops.
It's so much fun. All right, Lincoln Logs. I have been watching her all morning because she has made this like 3-story house and they're building a fence around it now.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yes, amazing.
It's fun, isn't it? So there's Lincoln Logs. There's so many things for them to do. There's Lincoln Logs. There's Melissa and Doug activities, which you can see. You guys are doing a great job over here. But something that I know you'll enjoy is over here. It's the RC trucks. And I know in New York you guys don't drive vehicles very often, so I have a feeling I might win this competition.
I do have a license. I can drive.
Do you drive these around New York City?
Yes, exactly. This is amazing.
So I'm already winning.
So all this stuff that they can come and play with, they can also buy at Bass Pro Shops. But you also have activities like crafts always set up for the kids?
Yes, and so this is one of my favorite things about Santa's Wonderland. So this is absolutely free like everything else here in the Wonderland, but you have different crafts every single week. So this week they're doing coloring activities, they're decorating Santa's bag, and next week it'll be totally different. So there's really no reason that they can't come back several times before Christmas happens.
Of course, and obviously the main event, the reason anybody comes to Bass Pro Shops is this guy right here.
Santa Claus, and you can visit him super easily. It's called the Bass Pass. There's 3 steps. You go to the ticket depot, you get a ticket for a certain time, and you come back. Step number 3, you come back at your allotted time with little to no waiting, and it's perfect.
And take pictures.
Exactly, and they're free. Free
And
photos.
they're free. This is amazing. All right, we're here at Bass Pro Shops all morning with Eva Shockey showing all the things that they have here, and this guy as well. Guys, back to you in New York.
I'm just waving to say
Wow. If you don't want to babysit your kids, just take them to Bass Pro, right?
That's right.
Bring yours over there.
I know, I'm tempted.
Kind of a long drive from Wisconsin.
Get your info into Santa now.
Coming up, could your airplane be hacked? The government just did it, and security experts warn it could be the start of something very scary.
Plus, Glamour Magazine's Woman of the Year Awards honors a group of a diverse group of women. The only problem, not even one conservative made the list.
You didn't make it?
No, I didn't make it. That story's up next. So, the Glamour 2017 Women of the Year Awards honoring a diverse group of women. The only problem, not one conservative made the list. Here to sound off on this snub is freelance writer and former press assistant for former Senator Rick Santorum, Lauren DeBellis-Appel. Thanks for joining us. So let's just get into some of the women that won. So we know the Lifetime Achievement Award was Maxine Waters, the Late Night Hero Samantha Bee, the Revolutionaries, the organizers of the Women's March. Tell us, why were conservative women left off the group, and doesn't this make this list just very questionable? What's the message here?
Well, good morning, Rachel. Thanks for having me on. When I read this list, the first thing that came to me was it read like a press release straight from the Democratic National Committee. Right. And it's shocking to me because they promote it as a list of trailblazers and a list of diverse women. And they are diverse women, but they leave off the conservatives. They leave off the people like Kellyanne Conway. She ran the first she was the first woman to run a successful presidential campaign. And why was she left off?
Right. And you look at the press shop at the White House, it's got more estrogen, I think, than The View.
For sure.
We have Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Sanders, Hope Hicks, Mercy Schlapp. So lots of women, role models, really, and completely left off the list.
Absolutely. And, I'm a mom of girls. And when I point to female role models for my girls, I point to people like the Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the Kellyanne Conways of the world. I don't point to the organizers of the Women's March who, wear vulgar hats and go scream in the streets because they lost a presidential election.
Right. That was interesting, too. Well, that was interesting, too. I saw that the protesters of the Women's March, by the way, Glamour said that these are leaders that are teaching us to lead in love. I mean, remember, Madonna said she wanted to blow up the White House there. And we had Linda Sarsour, one of the leaders of the march, who is pro-Sharia law, hardly a women's movement activist, in my opinion, and also has been on Twitter saying that supporting female genital mutilation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very clear to me that they have a clear political agenda that they're pushing. I mean, if you look at their reasons, if you read the reasons that they named these particular women, it's a very clear political agenda for why they chose who they chose, and they don't seem to care.
Right. What are they scared of? What are they scared of, Lauren? I mean, and what's the message to conservative women?
I think you need not apply, and it's a very bad business model, if you ask me, because they're ruling out about half of their demographic. I mean, half of the women in this country. If you don't know any better, you would think that Glamour magazine is just sold in New York and LA to the fringe liberal women.
You're right.
And they're forgetting the rest of the country, and that just doesn't make good business sense to me. A lot of us, we're professional, educated women, and we buy magazines. We don't necessarily buy this one now, but we buy magazines.
That's right. Not a great business model for them. Listen, thank you so much, Lauren, and check out the Federalist, where she writes on lots of great cultural and political issues. Thanks a lot, Lauren.
Thanks, Rachel.
Still ahead, Hillary Clinton says the whole Uranium One scandal has been debunked. But will a newly revealed FBI informant change all that? Sarah Carter is here to discuss in the next hour.